Hey YouTube. Wanted to do this video about Republicans, conservatives, Democrats, and liberals. Why do I break them up like that? Because there seems to be a rift between conservatives and Republicans, and the conservative movement is saying that anyone who's a Democrat is a liberal, but people in the Democratic Party don't all call themselves liberals. So I kind of wanted to be safe. But in the middle of all this, the conservative movement is having tea parties. Get to that. The conservative movement in America, I've been listening to their radio show every day on the way to and from work, twice a day, to and from work, every day, since the inauguration. And they seem to use this word liberalism like a bad word. Like, anyone supporting the majority of Obama's policies is a liberal. It's a bad word. Liberalism was responsible for racial equality that we strive for continuously, sexual equality and freedom that we strive for continuously, and human rights that we strive for continuously, which is one of the reasons why we're closing Guantanamo Bay and the CIA black sites where innocent people were being tortured. And they're saying that liberalism is a bad thing. They also say that intellectual elitism is a bad thing. When exactly did being smart become a bad thing? When did being smart be a bad thing? People are saving vast sums of money in order to send their children to college in the hopes that they'll graduate cum laude, magna cum laude, summa cum laude, valedictorian. When was this a bad thing? And I'm seeing this conservative movement like a serpent without a head. Rush Limbaugh is touted as being the voice of conservatism, but he's not in a political arena to be able to make political policy. He's a radio show host, which makes his perspective popular, but he can't make Congress vote on anything, which means he can't introduce policy to the structure. And I'm not knocking the man, not his views, his radio show, or him as a person. He's just not in the political arena. And the RNC chair, Mr. Steele, even though he's in the political arena, conservatives don't want him to speak at the tea parties, which tells me that the conservatives holding the tea parties don't consider Mr. Steele an authoritative source. So they've rejected him as a leader. Okay, but there's nobody left to take their place, and with no one there to take their place, the message of conservatism doesn't seem clear. The principles seem off, and they're not being explained clearly. The Republican Party, since I brought up Mr. Steele, they seem to be having leadership issues as well, because aside from parliamentary procedures in order to make the political party look stupid, they're not effective at keeping the checks and balances in place over the Democratic Party, because they're becoming the party of no, and they're not getting involved in the discussion of the process. It's like they're 6-year-olds saying, if I can't play like this in the sandbox, then I'm taking my toys and going home. That does me as a citizen no good, even though I'm not a Democrat, not a Republican, not a liberal. I'm not even conservative. So they're not offering any real solutions, and they're not part of the process, which means I can either get on board with Obama and stand for something, or I can get on board with the Republicans and be against everything. And I'm not bringing up Obama and policies. The Democrats aren't exactly blameless in the middle of this stuff either. They're bailing out companies that don't need to be bailed out, that should be allowed to fail because the nature of capitalism says so. And the deregulation of the markets, which they're still allowing to happen, has not been changed up to this point. And they know it's a problem. They know it's deregulation, and they have not even broached the subject to fix it yet. But they're willing to go out and buy up all this bad real estate debt in order to keep people who can't afford the houses that they knew they couldn't afford, keeping them from going homeless, when there are responsible, accountable people who have been waiting for the environment to buy a house who now can't, because people who can't afford their houses are still in their houses. And I can't blame those people who couldn't afford their initial mortgages. I can't really blame them because the environment pressured them, but I have to keep some accountability on them because they signed the contract, looking at the contract, understanding or not understanding what the adjustable rate mortgage was, and signing the contract anyway, knowing that either I don't know what this means, I don't care, or I can't afford the rate to adjust upward, but I'll deal with it when it comes. Well, it came, you're responsible. I have to give some accountability there. So no one is innocent. And in the middle of all of this teabag party stuff, the conservatives sending teabags, the teabag party stuff, they're sending teabags off to the White House and to Congress. And the act of sending the teabags off to Congress and the White House and President Obama, they call this teabagging. In California, teabagging has a definition, slang, but it has a definition. And there is no teabagging of any other sort that I know of, innocent or otherwise. And I have to question the Conservative Party for using this term. I'm all for their right to demonstrate. I'm all for it, by all means. If you want to waste all that money in sending teabags to the White House and to Congress and to Obama, you want to make up signs saying teabag Obama, teabag liberal Democrats before they teabag you, teabag Congress, you want to make up all those signs, and you want to teabag people, by all means, teabag people. Who am I to tell you what to do with your body in the age of sexual freedom and expression? But if you're going to sit there and use this term and throw it around like this, I have to question the judgment of the conservative movement, because this term, in the place where I live, has a connotation that involves suckling and testicles. And if somebody can throw that word around and not care, that tells me that either they know what it means and are using it anyway, or they don't know what it means and they're using it anyway. And if they can use this word, that tells me they're out of touch with at least the area of the world that I'm in. And I have to question the judgment. How can someone who doesn't even know the group and the place where I live, something so blatant, so obvious, so amazingly, how can, if they can do this, can I really trust them to run the nation, considering they don't have an answer to anything? Party of no, conservatives? But when I ask myself that question and look at that judgment, I can't be completely surprised about their lack of leadership, because who in the world wants to be known as the leader of the party or the movement that teabags?